Hey, good morning everyone, and welcome to the PivotBoss Pre-Market Report for June 27th, 2016. We've now had a full day plus the overnight session here to absorb the Brexit vote. And, I hesitated to say too much about it after it came out because really you want to see how it shakes out a little bit. You know that the market's still going to follow auction-based theory for the most part. You're going to see rejections at extremes of key ranges. You're going to see value be defended or go offered, and that's something we saw here. One thing we noticed here in the trading room is how price basically traded the entire range, this D-shaped profile right here in one day. I mean, that's really what it did. And you can see down here we have an expanding range that continues to develop, and this is the pattern we've been talking about this entire time, which is that every time we come down here, we were looking for a push to new highs. We were watching for failed range expansion for a shot back across the range. The latest one was here, where we were looking for a move back toward 40. We got it right on the dot. We also said we could see a push back below 20s here, 30s, but we didn't quite get it. We got a double clutch, and then right here, that's Brexit, and then the big sell-off right across the range, back into rejection. Friday we did hit 2,000, and that's very important right here. We did hit 2,000 and we bounced. The market attempted to hold above 52s and 44s, and I mentioned to our trading room, that's the pivot. The 44s is the pivot here for the rest of the day. If price closes below 44s here, we could see a retest of the lows, and we could see more trading down near those lows, and that's where we are now. So that was a big time level. The reason why it was important is because price went offered through it, and when it came back, it tried to hold back above value, and instead the market offered value yet again, and that sparked the recent push lower. So here's one thing to keep in mind with regards to the ES. The fact that we are still in an expanding range implies to me that we could still see a push even below the previous week's low. That could still be an opportunity to push this thing back to highs. I think failure to hold or above 2,000 in general, and even if it breaks below, if it can't get back above 2,000, I think 2,000 is the major pivot there. And if price pushes below 2,000 and can't reclaim acceptance back above it, I think we could see price auction down through into 1920 with a shot to reach all the way back down to 1,800. And this is what we were talking about before. We knew that the trading range wouldn't persist the entire time. What we were looking for was for price to rally from 1,800 into 2061s at a time, and we were looking for price to trade sideways for 2 or 3 months heading into July, August. And in July, August, we were looking for price to sell off and drop toward 1,800. So now we're coming into July. We're only a couple trading days away from July. So we could be right on schedule. So again, we could be at the point where we're breaking, but I don't want to make any clear determinations just yet. I want to watch to see how the market responds, and from there, we'll be looking to either fade it back up or trade the move back into 1921, at least on a first test basis, followed by the potential to see a move into 1,800. All right, so let's take a look now at crude oil. Crude oil, just really quickly here, price bounced into value, chopped around value, and then took it offered. 49.78 took it offered. Now we're back toward 46.50. That's the key range low. This is going to be important down here. I did mention before that usually this pattern would materialize to the upside, and with Brexit and everything, we've seen a push lower, and now we're holding near these lows. So I think any push below 46.50 has a retest back at 45.23. That's the next HVM below, with a retest of the previous month's low here, given that previous month's high and close both went offered at separate times. I think a test at this level could be imminent, especially if price cannot hold these 46.50s. So the next two downside targets, 45.23 and 44.24. If price gets all the way into the LVN at 42.92 sometime over the next several days or the next week, that could be a great buy opportunity back up. All right, let's take a look now at gold futures. This one here saw a major push toward our 1366 LVN above. It's a major level, 1366. And I mentioned to our trading room that reaching toward that level was a sign that we could be topped out, at least in the near term. But through it still has one more major level above, which is 1452, and also the 100% expansion target from the current key range. So it's important to see how price reacts to 1319. That's the major pivot to watch in gold right now. Price was rejected all above those levels Friday, and now we're trading into those levels and trying to hold here and establish acceptance. So any failure to hold above 1319 would suggest a return back across the range into 1260, 1238, and 1210. But holding above this general zone in here could squeeze, especially if 1366 gives way. So right now I'm just watching 1319 again, very similar to the other indexes, to see how they play out. Lastly, the NQ. This one here, been trading in the clear range and recently pushed through the previous month's low here. That's very important. You can see here we were trading in a clear range from basically 42.63 up to about 45.50. Chop, chop, chop. But recently, again, with Brexit on the line here, we had this HVN at 44.86 half that went offered. Price went offered again through the next HVN below, which is 43.89 half, and then pushed and closed beyond the bottom of its trading range. So that is all indicative of an attempt to see expansion, right? You see compression, and that leads to an imbalance phase and expansion. We could be looking at a push back toward recent lows between 38.50 and 39. Now again, I want to keep an open mind here for the case that price attempts to hold below the previous month's low, and then they fail to get paid, which leads to another move up. So I'm leaving that open as well. So right now what I'm watching is the previous month's low here, and I want to watch that as a pivot and see how price responds below here. If we start to push below 4,200 and close below there, it's likely that we're going to auction back through these prices. Any push back above the previous month's low would be an indication of a retest of value above. All right, that's it for now. Let's see how this thing plays out heading into the new week ahead. Good luck and trade well. Happy Monday.